The Saeco Syntia. It's a pretty easy test mode, though, of the ones available because it does have a little readout screen.
Yeah, it's very, exactly. You kind of know exactly where you're at. With the other test modes, it's kind of like trial and error. Like, you go in an area with the dial and you press a button, you're like, oh, that must be the coffee grinder.
Okay.
With this, it's all written out for you. And it actually uses a lot of numbers too, letting you know exactly how many revolutions you've done with the flow meter, for example, or revolutions with the grinder, and things like that.
So why would I want to go into test mode to begin with? What's the purpose of it?
One really cool thing is when you first get into test mode, it shows you whether or not all your sensors are activated. And if they are, you know, like literally which ones, brew unit microswitch. Yes.
Okay.
You know, door microswitch. Yes. So you can kind of go through, and that's kind of really the glory of a digital readout is you can see exactly what the machine's thinking, rather than with the Odea and the Vienna. There's no, you know, there's no digital readout. So you're kind of like, well, this one alarm could be one of 6 things. This thing will help you know exactly where the problem is.
Okay. So how do we get into it?
Okay. So there's a switch in the back.
That's the main power switch.
That's the main power switch. So I'm trying to remember. We just want to turn it on, actually. Actually, no, what we want to do is... sorry. Because there are 2 power switches. There's a standby right here. And I was trying to remember if you needed to do it with the standby power or just the power in the back. You need to do it with the power in the back. So I'm going to turn it to the right.
Now, folks would never believe that we just did this, would they? Okay, turn it to the right.
Turn it to the right. And then I'm going to hold down memo, the first one towards the top.
The top memo?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'm going to hit power. And then you should...
The main power switch.
Yeah, the one in the back. And then you see what software has actually been installed on this machine.
Okay.
Which I don't really know the different types of software. There could be more than one. I'm not entirely sure.
Different versions of that they've done. Maybe through you probably would see different ones depending on the era of when your machine was manufactured, I assume.
Yeah, let's go with that. Miss Marketing person. Okay, here we go. So, now this is our keyboard. So that last page was just telling us what kind of software is in here. This is telling you that, you know, it's letting you know whether these buttons are working or not. So here's button number 1. Yep, it's working. And you can see the end change. If you press this button and nothing happened, then you'd have an issue. But something's happening on every single one. Actually, I just changed the screen, so we know that one's working. This is what's toggling you in between your functions.
Okay.
So right now, I just went from the buttons test to this inputs test, which is the one I was talking about. It's all our sensors. So the first one, tap coffee. It's ready for coffee. It was yes for the water. You can see the end change to a Y. Now I'm going to go all the way over, and then we'll see tap steam go from an N to a Y. And then these other ones are all for the water. So right now it's saying it was a yes for water because it was sensing the water. Now it's not, so it's to an N for no.
Okay.
Putting that back. And now these other 3 to the right are door, brew unit, and dredge.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the dredge out. That goes from a Y to an N. I'm going to put the dredge back and open the door. The door is now a no. And now I'll take out the brew unit and shut the door. Now everything's yes except for the brew unit being no. So essentially what's going on there is if you are getting an error, you can come in here and see exactly what is causing that error.
So basically, if you're getting an error and you feel like, hey, I've done everything and this little high maintenance dude is still giving me a complaint, you could go in here and kind of see, all right, what's the lay of the land?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You could end up pointing your finger at exactly what the problem is.
And accuse it.
Exactly. You know, what's up, dude?
Call it out. Okay.
One thing we get a lot of calls about is like things aren't written out on the Syntia. It doesn't say, you know, empty dredge drawer. It's an image of that rather. And sometimes those images can be confusing for a first-time user, especially the priming image, which we'll get into.
Okay.
But let's go to the next page. So we're good on all our inputs. Now where are we at? We're at the brew unit page. So essentially this is saying, let's go from work to home and back again. So if I wanted to put it to work position, I'm going to hit that. And now we can hear the brew unit motor going and how the gears are moving and putting the brew unit into work position. And there is a sensor, a micro switch just for that. And you can see now that's been activated. Now let's go back to home. And now so now you know your brew unit can go from work to home very easily, and you know everything's fine there.
Okay, what is the other side?
Oh, that's showing you exactly how much work your brew unit motor has done.
Oh, okay.
It's measuring the actual revolutions of the shaft coming out of the brew unit motor.
I see.
And that's my impression of what the shaft does.
Okay.
And then it started all back over again. And we'll do it again.
Oh. So it's actually telling you that's what it's done. I see. When when it does that process.
Exactly.
Not how many times it does it, but what it goes through in that process.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's our brew unit page. We'll go to the next one. What is this? Oh, this is our pump. So if we really want to make sure our pump's working, we're going to need to open the valve. Let's, there we go. There we go. And, well, that's not it. That's it.
There we go. And that's like, hey, it's just pulling water straight through.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of talking about before with it actually being representative numbers. You know, honestly, I don't know what the L/H is. Maybe you can tell me what that is. But the impulses is exactly what I was talking about earlier with the other machines. It's the revolutions of the flow meter. But this is actually counting those revolutions individually. It's not just a light telling you that it's working. It's counting each revolution by itself. So that's what's going on there. So this is a great way to determine, you know, if your pump is working or whether maybe your machine is preventing your pump from working for a certain reason, and that could be one of many things.
I think LH stands for left-handed. If you do it, you know, no.
I don't agree with you there.
Okay, let's move right along.
Calling it how I see it. Okay. Okay. Heating element and grinder.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is just giving you a simple on. The heating element, you know, the only way to really know if it's working or not is by holding it down and then going back to water and then taking a thermostat to your water.
And so is that actually counting the temp there? So,
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's slowly but surely climbing up.
I see.
So it takes a while, but, you know, that's what's going on there.
All right, and then...
And then here's our grinder.
Okay.
And that's working just fine. And that's doing the same thing. It's counting the revolutions in that low period. That's why there are more there. I held it down longer.
Is that how that works?
Yep.
Cool.
Are you making fun of me right now?
No,
I'm just kidding.
never be.
Whatever. and now we're back to the keyboard.
Cool.
So yeah, it kind of just takes you through all the functionality of every single, you know, function of the machine, the pump, the motor, the brew unit motor, everything that's involved, you know, just kind of assuring that it's all working, and maybe that if one of those isn't working when you're in normal mode, there's a reason for it if all those things are working in test mode.
Got it. Cool. All right. Thank you very much, Brendan Swenson.
No problem.